Ooh, the button came on really quick there. Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, the 27th of November, 2018. Hello, chat room. On the panel today, we have Costa, our Patricia, Flat Earth Dude, and with us extra is Marie Wheatley and Brien Foerster. Hey, hello.
Karen. Ellie.
Good day.
Hi.
Hey. Thanks so much for joining us. I know that you haven't got that much time, either of you, but you two had a very nice time together in September, and me and Costa just missed you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes, it was great.
Sorry, go ahead, Maria.
No, I was just saying it was really great to meet Brien and go around Stonehenge. And I showed a bit of an alternative side to Stonehenge as well, rather than just the usual drip feed that you get from the archaeological community.
Hey, Maria, you broke up a bit. Maybe it's best just to turn your camera off. You might get a better broadband width. Always so annoying when that happens. I think you got the gist there, Brien. She was saying she hoped that you had a different view of it after going round with her.
Hello?
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, the insights that Maria provided were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, sorry, Maria, what I said was, because there's a little bit of a bandwidth problem, just turn your camera off for now. It might be a lot better.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, now say again what you were saying to Brien.
Yeah, I was just saying it was great to meet Brien, and I hope, when we went round Stonehenge and Avebury and Silbury Hill, these sacred sites of the, the pre-Druids here, that I gave a bit of an alternative insight rather than the drip-fed archaeological spiel.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because everything that Maria explained to me was completely logical, and such things as radiocarbon testing has been done by at least one private individual that indicates that Stonehenge is probably 12,000 years old, not 4,500 years old, which is the standard number that they call everything, including the Great Pyramid, and that the sarsen stones are the oldest. As well, that the stones were probably highly polished when they were constructed, and she provided evidence of that when we went to Avebury. There was still a little bit of one stone that had a face on it that was indeed highly polished, and that makes a lot of sense in terms of resonance and energy. Other things were that the Stonehenge is being treated like it's a secret, well, it is on an army base, but almost like a secret, secure army military location. Only 40 people out of 4,000 are allowed to go inside, which is what Maria was very kind to provide for us, and that it was a complete circle, or actually, she'll probably correct me, but I believe it was originally 2 complete circles, and the way that it's designed now is quite silly. Please illuminate everyone, Maria.
Yeah, well, again, we look at Stonehenge and we think we know Stonehenge because we're so familiar with the iconic image. But I think Stonehenge, has had different phases. So if we go to Stonehenge phase 1, it was just a kind of beautiful blue stone circle of 56 standing stones, highly polished again. And these came from about 170 miles away. Now, these could have been dismantled from a previous ancient site, going back even further in time now. And they were erected in a beautiful circle. And the 56 number is quite meaningful when you look at the moon's metonic cycle of 2 lots of 19 years and 1 lot of 18 years. That equates to 56. And in the year of the high moon, that's when the moon was at its most northerly, and it's the longest night. Actually, a lot of us think about the longest day, you know, at the summer solstice. But when we think about the longest night, it's a very powerful time. And Stonehenge really came alive at that time, and at the standstill time of that moon's metonic cycle, when the full moon rose perfectly over the heel stone. That's phase one of Stonehenge, a very lunar site when the elongated skull type, long-headed people designed that part of Stonehenge for sure.
That's something else you've got very in common with the elongated skulls. You two. Did you hear that?
No, you broke up a bit, Karen. So if you could say that again, that would be wonderful.
That's the bit you've got in common as well between you and Brien, isn't it? Is that you've also found elongated skulls here.
That's right. There was a lot of, you know, long-headed people all around Stonehenge and the south of England and far, far beyond, actually. But their spiritual capital seemed to be around Stonehenge. That seems to be quite clear with the archaeological remains.
Yeah, women.
Yeah, there was more women buried at Stonehenge phase one than there were males, actually. So we could say that it was in all probability a goddess female-led society during the Neolithic.
Yeah, and I was watching one of Brian's videos the other day, and he was saying the same in it.
Yeah, I mean the moon is a kind of personification as well of the goddess, and with all these different lunar alignments, and even Aubrey Burler, a very good archaeologist actually, he pointed out that most of the long barrows on the Salisbury Plain, of which there are more than 70, were nine times out of 10 aligned to the moon, not the sun. We're constantly spoon-fed a lot of the sun alignments, you know. So he reevaluated it and said, well, no, in all likelihood they're more lunar. And the same if we go to Scotland, to what's called the recumbrant stone circles there, they tend to be very lunar based.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling us that last time you came on about how moon based everything was. Hello, Brien?
Hello.
Hello, yeah. So when you come to England, what's been your favourite bit then? Stonehenge, Silbury Hill, Avebury, or all of it?
Oh, all of it, because it all seems to be, you know, components of the same landscape. We also went to West Kennet Long Barrow, which I'd been to once before, but Maria's explanation was far more profound than the story I was told. I actually found West Kennet quite boring the first time, but when Maria explained that it again was probably a long-skulled construction, and that then the Beaker people show up around 4,500 years ago, and they wind up wiping these people out and entombing them inside the Long Barrow and crushing most of their skulls by dumping big stones on top of them. It made the whole landscape tie, like every aspect seemed to tie in. And the first time also that I went to Avebury, which was like 6 years ago, again, the explanation was quite poor, but we walked through the whole landscape, and it made the whole story much more profound. And also, again, the difference being that Stonehenge is such a military controlled complex. It's at this point it's quite ridiculous how restrictive you are. Even when we were allowed inside, we had all these guards staring at us, and if you dared even touch one of the stones, you'd probably you would get yelled at. But when we went to Avebury, you were able to lean up against them and touch them and study them in very close contact, and that made the entire day a very profound experience for me, and gave me much more appreciation of ancient England than I had before, because I thought, well, you know, Stonehenge is kind of big, but it's not that well made, and half of its fault has fallen down, and you know, compared to Egypt. But on an energetic and subtle level, there's so much to these ancient places in England that I'm sure 95%, 98% of the people who visit just don't appreciate.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. There's so many things. There's the white horses, you know, they're amazing as well. And like, why do you think it's like that then? Because we've never been allowed near Stonehenge. Maria or Brian, why do you think it's so controlled with Stonehenge? If it's not right.
Yeah, Maria's the expert, so she should really answer.
Well, we all have our own valid opinions, and the way I see it is it's been kind of creeping up the control. Because I mean, if you go back to the 80s, and when you could enter Stonehenge for the free festivals and that sort of thing, it was more inviting, and gradually gates came up, and the gates are going up again, yeah, on all of the tracks. So the control, it's all been about this subtle control. And the military that do occupy the lands that surround Stonehenge, they have again been encroaching more and more and more. So the way I see it, it's almost like they're kind of wanting that whole area truly, and kind of in passing through the guise of English heritage. I mean, they were celebrating 100 years of it being given to the British people this year. Really? We can't go in there. You know, it's supposed to be our monument, yet nobody can go in there and touch the stones. So it's very disappointing. And then the military are always attracted to power places, make no mistake. So there's that there, and that's another component. More than that, if we look to the Salisbury Plain, of which the military occupy, it is the largest concentration place of ancient sites. Over 2,000 ancient sites are on the Salisbury Plain. It's not just Stonehenge.
Why do you think there's such a difference with Stonehenge to, say, Silbury Hill and Avebury and that complex? Because there's more there, because there's Strawberry Hill, there's so many things, there's the Long Barrows. So why aren't they doing the same to that?
Well, for a start, you've got a village at Avebury. Yeah, you've got a living village, you've got pubs, you've got shops, you've got people within the complex, and you've got major through roads. Now, you used to have a major through road at Stonehenge, which got taken out and grassed over. And Brian, when he was there, even remembered that. He was looking around, weren't you, Brian, and saying, well, this is all changed. The road used to be right by what's called the Heelstone. So, you know, they've, again, it's all about taking control of a landscape, and they have taken that road out, and they want to take the other road out and put a tunnel there. Then there's no way you're going to get anywhere near that complex unless you go through English Heritage and the National Trust, sadly.
So would you explain then what Stonehenge should look like then? Because they've obviously put it back wrong, as Brian said.
Well, there's been a lot of reconstructions ever since, you know, Gowland put the stones up in the early 1900s. So the thing was about Stonehenge, if something didn't fit, they kept it buried. So there's a lot of buried stones at Stonehenge that should be exposed and looked at and looked into for us to really understand it. But the main thing about Stonehenge, and I'll let Brian speak in a minute about what he felt about Stonehenge, because that's very important. But we see it as an open landscape. When our ancestors created this monument, you had at least an 8-foot chalk brick bank surrounding Stonehenge, so you could even see on the inside. What was ever happening on the inside of Stonehenge was a very secretive place. So we don't see that now. It's just a tiny little bump in the ground because that's been taken down with farming traditions and with the landowners there. So imagine now the Stonehenge that you know today with an 8-foot wall around it, possibly even a fence on top of that.
Wow. So we're not seeing what it really was anyway then. What about you, Brian, then?
Well, there were just subtle things there that that again, subtle to any normal person, but because Maria's been there God knows how many times, just subtle aspects like there's moss growing on the stones. And when inquiries are made about why they don't clean the moss off, because that would disturb the resonance and energetics of the stones, of course, because it's like wrapping styrofoam around something. You're deadening the energy, and they simply say, "Well, it's part of the environment," and it's like, yeah, but it's making the energy of the area lower and lower as more of this moss grows on it. Also, as far as I can tell, they keep moving the fence farther and farther back for the general public. So you have to take a bus. Whereas the last time I went, which was I think only 5 or 6 years ago, you could still drive up reasonably close, and then the entranceway was an underground passageway. And also another thing Maria stated, which is a very good point, is they're planning on spending a ridiculous amount of money making a tunnel underneath it, whereas all they actually have to do is lower the present roadway by maybe 15 feet, and then people won't be, gawking to the left and the right as they drive past Stonehenge. They won't be able to see it. So a lot of it seems to be a bizarre kind of Kabbalic cover-up of some kind.
So if obviously with what Stonehenge was and what Avebury and Silbury Hill and all that was, they were all part of each other, weren't they? They were it's like a motherboard or something, isn't it?
Well, they definitely felt. I'm sorry, Maria, but it definitely felt that way to me, and that's again because of Maria's brilliant insights. That Woodhenge is quite close by, and Silbury you can see pretty soon as you're driving, and then from West Kennet Longbarrow you see Silbury Hill. So they're obviously all energetically connected. Sorry, over to you.
Oh, absolutely, Brian. I mean, that's a really important point raised. But the sites that have gone, so if we imagine now you've got Stonehenge, you've got Avebury, and there was a superhenge in between them both, okay? And that was called Mardenhenge. And that had stone settings. It even had a sweat lodge like, the Native Americans have. So we have sites that have long, long gone that were all a part of that ritual landscape. And it's interesting to note that if we do look at the overall ritual landscape, and we have a look at Stonehenge right the way through to Avebury and beyond, they're all connected on this major artery of a ley system that is also linked to the planets. And according to the Reverend Edward Duke, who spent a lot of time at Stonehenge, he was an antiquarian, he said that Saturn equated, for example, to Stonehenge, and Marden, incidentally, was Mars. Den is an Old English word for settlement, and Mars, the settlement of Mars. And Avebury represented the sun and the moon. So you'd like that, Karen. Sun and moon aspect. So there's a lot of things going on. So we need to remember the lost sites. We also need to remember sites on private land. So if you look at Avebury and you go through past Silbury Hill and West Kennet Longbarrow, let's say about 2 to 3 miles, you have standing stones and stone settings there that are on private land that you would provide access to. So there is a much, much bigger ritual landscape.
I agree with you, because say there's Strawberry Hill with that arcing there, and I call them arkings. I think a lot of them, they told us that Silbury Hill had a moat round it, but it's an electrical arcing, and there's loads of them, and a lot of churches and castles and things are all built on top of them. And that's what I see as a research group. But Brian, when I think of you, I think of all the archaeology, but you also do lots of holidays, don't you?
Lots of what?
Plan holidays.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually, each one of the tours that we do, or on some level, you know, of course, each one is a research project, and that's how I explain it to the guests who come, that you're not coming to hear me talk all the time. You're coming so that we can discuss things, because I want to know what you see and what you sense. And quite recently, actually 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we were on Easter Island with a group, and again, we had the absolute best guide on the island. He's descended from what was left of the nobility of Easter Island, and so his insights again were quite phenomenal. There are 950 of the Moai heads, which of course are actually complete bodies unless they were broken. We also saw evidence of megalithic high technology cutting of stone on Easter Island, which most people don't know about. And then we went inside a lava tube that something like 1.5 kilometers long. It was really, really a great experience. And that of course will be coming up on my YouTube channel as I make those videos.
Yeah, you've got a lot to make, haven't you? You said just before we were going live that you've got some about Silbury Hill and your trip here to go up as well.
Yeah, it's actually still uploading now, but it should be available within a few days, I think. But I basically today just took everything, all the best bits from my recent trip to England, and just strung them all together. So it gives a much broader idea. And of course, it looked very much forward to returning at some point within the next few years and do a much more intense series of videos with Maria, because unfortunately the wind was blowing somewhere in the order of 50 miles an hour the day that we were walking around. That made the sound almost impossible. I was able to recover some of it, but yeah, I think a calm summer day would be better than what we were experiencing.
I know it's the British weather. What can I say?
No.
Can I just say as well, as you both into elongated skulls, the ones here are a bit different to the ones that Brian's found, because I was watching you talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose if we see the kind of long-skulled, long-headed people of the Stonehenge environs, they're more sort of narrow at the front and sort of a bit longer at the back. They're not like the Paracas skulls, but nonetheless, they were a different type of human, as it were, to us. They looked differently to the round-skulled beaker culture that came later. So they are the ancient British people. They are the people that laid out the most ancient and sometimes complex monuments. They are the people that laid out the ley system. And they are the people that were first put in sites onto earth energy patterns. Because if we look to Avebury, for example, and we go to the oldest setting, the Neolithic settings, then we can see that they were placed on earth energy patterns. So it was the long skull people that started to lay out the ley system. And then in the Bronze Age, when the stone circles were being built, and then in the Iron Age, when the hill forts came on, and the Christians put their churches on, it came later and later and later. So we should thank them for, you know, their energetic understanding of the ancient British landscape.
So repeat again. They made the ley lines. That's what you're saying, Maria.
They put ancient monuments upon earth energies and leys, and they kind of started to monumentalize the ley system. They monumentalize the kind of earth energy systems as well, because when we look at a ley system, like a ley line that has earth currents entwining it, the long skull people were very aware of that across Europe and elsewhere, and placed their sites upon it. So they monumentalized it.
So what does Brian make of the English? Well, yeah, the English elongated skulls.
Well, I'd like to, you know, it would be wonderful if it would be possible to get some more photographs. I know it's very difficult, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get a copy of Maria's little book. I know she's working on a much larger book now about this topic. So yeah, there's not too much I can say about them, but I'm convinced from Maria's research that in fact these people did exist, and it all on some level correlates with what we see in Peru, because you did have these, you have these very strange megalithic sites built in Peru by people of, in this case, high technology, but also very advanced consciousness. And the sites are also, of course, energetic, like they are in England and probably, of course, Karnak in France, etc. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of what Maria comes up with. She's very fortunate, and of course, to be living in that area, which is wonderful. I only get to visit like once every 5 years, but I'm much more intrigued about the ancient megalithic sites of England, thanks to my conversations with her. Then I have a much greater appreciation than I ever did in the past. And so keep up the good work, Maria.
Well, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, and what I'm trying to do now for the next book is match particular kind of cultures across the UK, Ireland, and Scotland to the ancient sites. Because when we look to places like Egypt, we and it's wonderful because King Tut's associated to here and Akhenaten to here, etc. But when you come to the British Isles, you draw a blank. Who were the people? And that's what I'm trying to do now. And I've kind of literally on the very large megalithic sites of the British Isles, starting to match the people to the places, so that we can see them. And I'm working with a really good. She's done forensic work with the police to try and even reconstruct a similarity of what the people look like as well, to give us a kind of more of a holistic understanding into the people of the past.
That's really good. We look forward to that then, Maria. Maria and Brien, what difference does it make with the different skulls then? If they're different, like if the ones that Brian's been looking at are very elongated, like you said, narrow at the front, and your ones are a bit different, what does that mean? They're still all different people.
Well, definitely, I don't think you can. I don't think there's necessarily a relationship whatsoever between the two, though there could be. I mean, the elongated skulls of Paracas are very distinctive in terms of their shape, and the only other ones that are similar are ones found in Crimea, at the Black Sea. But maybe there is a correlation, because maybe that was a beginning point. I don't really know. But again, it'll be great if more photographs are able to be gotten hold of what these very ancient people of Stonehenge looked like. And it throws the history of the area back much, much farther than most people, especially academics, will accept. Again, this time frame of 4,500 years ago being so important, it seems that you could easily throw the dates back to 12,000 plus years.
Yeah, in the UK, everything is sort of put as 4,500 years ago. They just have that date, don't they?
Worldwide, because I mean that goes for Egypt and elsewhere. It's like they plucked this figure out of the air, and nobody's challenging that, except for the alternative community and people that realise, there is something else going on other than these kind of ridiculous time dates.
So annoying, isn't it? Was it 2018? And look at what you're uncovering, both of you. So very much appreciate all the work that you do on that, because it's amazing to realise that there really was other races of people here. And a lot of people don't know, do they?
Yeah, well, actually, the good thing is that it's expanding, like the knowledge base and awareness is expanding like very rapidly now. Less than a week ago, I was in Cusco and the Sacred Valley area of Peru with Nassim Harriman, if anyone has heard of him. He's an absolutely brilliant man and very down to earth. He's like world famous and probably has a cult following at this point, but he's a very grounded person for someone who's so famous. And he brought a group of 150 people with him. So we explored Cusco and Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo and all the megalithic, well, some of the megalithic sites around Cusco. And so when you have 150 people very consciously listening to and watching what you're looking at, then by the time they go home, you know, they'll tell their friends, and they show photographs, and they'll show the difference between what the Inca could have done and what the Inca couldn't have done. And just one group of that size automatically will expand the number of people who will be aware of what it was that we were looking at.
Yeah, well, we all appreciate the fact there are people like you who are looking for the truth, and all your research and hard work you do. You're constantly on the go, aren't you, Brien?
Well, I have been, but I'm not so much anymore. I'm trying to not go anywhere for 2 months. So in February, we're going with a group to Mexico to look at, of course, the famous sites there, like Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza and etc. But again, I found evidence that there was a more advanced culture or number of cultures in Mexico prior to the Olmec and the Aztec and the Maya and the Toltec people. And again, we see evidence of stone cutting that could not have been done by any of those cultures I just mentioned. So there's more and more of this going on, more and more of this subtle, subtle evidence is starting to show up in places that you wouldn't previously have thought of. And that's what I'm most, what I'm most excited about. The same thing with Easter Island. Again, megalithic construction remains, where you see very tight-fitting stonework and then much rougher work on top. And also in terms of the scale of the Moai figures, you have smaller ones that appear to have been made by the Polynesians, and they're maybe in the region of 6 to 10 feet tall. But then you have much more massive ones. There's one that's still in the quarry that would have weighed 180 tons if it had ever been completed. And it has it and about half of them have aquiline noses, like very European or Indo-European looking features, which the Polynesian people would not have made up. And then also the top knots that some of them still have, which is made out of a red scoria stone. More and more researchers and local people say that was their hair color. It was a dark red hair. That's not, again, that's not a Polynesian characteristic.
Hmm. So you're going over there to have a look at all this then?
We just came back about 2 weeks ago.
Sorry, yeah, you're talking about that, right? Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, I see. Have you seen a video where a lady in is it New Zealand? She was trying to find her heritage because she's native, but she's got red hair and blue eyes, and they did her DNA check, and she came from the Middle East originally. Well, that's where she started from, her lineage.
Yeah, that's right. It also matches what her family oral tradition says, that they came from somewhere in the area of probably the Indus Valley, like thousands of years before the Maori. And they were persecuted and cannibalized, supposedly. But her bloodline still exists, and her DNA shows that she, in the 21st century, is still 30% Persian.
That's it, Persian. I couldn't think of the name, yeah. Amazing, isn't it? We think we know everything and we don't. Maria, you do lots of talks as well as writing books, astrology now. What have you got coming?
Yeah, and I've got some good things coming up. I've got some in the local area of Avebury. I've got some Egyptian pendulum dowsing courses that were focused on kind of these Egyptian artifacts, and I'll be going to Egypt in April with Kerry Cassidy, and I'll be doing some tours around Avebury and Stonehenge and further up to the north of England as well, and some of the recumbent stone circles of the Aberdeenshire area of Scotland, because they're very unique. You have two standing stones that are upright, with one standing stone that's like flat, and they're aligned to the moon. They integrate some beautiful colors, so you could have like two large standing stones about 7 feet tall that are gray, with a beautiful red granite stone in between them, and a red jasper stone as well. So I'll be going up, and a bit like Brien, I take people up, and it's about researching, it's about, you know, discovering the landscape, because whenever you go back to a place, you see it through fresh eyes, and you see something that you may not have on the previous trip. So that's a great thing as well. And yeah, I'll be doing some talks as well and lectures. And I've been invited to Contact in the Desert as well this year. So I'll be going over to America as well, which is a bit of a wow for me.
Yeah, and as well, where else are you going next week or coming next week? To Sun and Moon again. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, and I'll be coming on to Sun and Moon, and we'll be looking at my latest book, with published by the late Dolores Canning's publishing company Ozark, about a different form of astrology that changes your natal birth chart into the kind of heart chakra symbol. The planets that fall into the heart chakra symbol represent your most important, significant lives. And I'm really proud that, you know, Dolores Canning's company published that. And we had a chat before we came online about, you know, Dolores's great work in past life regression. So, so yeah, I'll be doing your chart, Karen.
I know everybody. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Everybody's going to know about me. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Can I just say one more thing to Brien? Brien, I was looking at things, and I was looking at the Rainbow Mountains. You know, I think they're in China, aren't they? And there's others. And then I suddenly thought to myself, but we've got one here, the Isle of Wight. That's got different sands. When you realise that the earth is full of all these different coloured soils and what they mean, isn't that going to also make a difference of where these monuments are and everything?
That could very well be. The same thing exists outside of Cusco, which is now a tourist destination. It's called the Rainbow Mountain, and it's a series of mountains that are almost every color in the spectrum, I think. And of course, the reasoning behind that is that the highlands of Peru and the Andes are volcanic, so everything's a volcanic composition. So I don't know if I'll be discovering too many places left that are megalithic to explore. I haven't been to Turkey, but I'll be going with Patricia Awian in September with a group, and so I'll get to see Göbekli Tepe and Cappadocia and the underground cities and that sort of thing. So that's great. Also looking forward to going back to Egypt in April. We've actually our tour is already sold out for April, which is quite amazing. But before that, we'll be going to Lebanon to see Baalbek and Jordan to see Petra. So yeah, lots of things still to do.
Wow, all sounds lovely, doesn't it? I'm coming. And Maria, what do you reckon about those soils that I just said? I mean, we won't even, because when I was looking on the Isle of Wight, you know, on the top of it, there's grass. None of us will know we're walking on all these different levels of layers of soil.
Yeah, I think the ancients did have a very deep understanding of the geology, because when you look at particular ancient sites, they can be constructed on the kind of meeting point of either two aquifers or two different types of soil types. In my own kind of Dowson understanding, I think when you have the two different types of aquifer meeting or these soils, they give off a particular energy pattern. So you can start to kind of decode what the ancient site was used for. So I think the geology is very important. Furthermore, if you have underground water moving through granite, it creates a different, more of a jarred pattern, and water diviners from the 1800s were the first to document this. And if you have kind of water going through a kind of softer substance like chalk or limestone, it forms a different pattern. And I think the ancient ancestors were fully aware of all these different types of geological aspects, especially if it's volcanic, or even on places like Malta, where I've taken people, you have a lot of fault lines. It's very interesting to note that, you know, within the British Isles and Europe and Malta, wherever you have an ancient site, it's never more than a couple of miles from a fault line. So the ancients were looking into the geology of place. That is for sure. And the geology of place gives off these different types of energy patterns. And that's where, you know, I kind of look at a site from the energetic perspective as well as the megalithic perspective.
I've got another one for you. Maybe next time Brien comes to the UK, you might like this one. It's called Coombe Hill. It's the biggest chalk hill in England. It has a settlement up there. It's like going up in an aeroplane. You're up it in minutes, and then you can see Wiltshire, Berkshire, Hampshire. You can see the turrets of Didcot, you know, the power station, well, what's left. And then you can see the A4, the M4. They used to hang people up there. Obviously there's a Newsman thing up there. They used to jump off it with open parachutes in the Second World War. It's part of the Ridgeway Walk, which goes up to Oxford, where obviously the people with the settlement used to walk on top, supposedly because the trees were that big. Although when you look, the trees look so small. Then I can't see why they needed to go up there, because the trees are so tiny when you're up there. Anyway, also there's just so much history. Also, like, they line up to Heathrow there. It's great to watch the stars, you know, like if there's any, whatever they are, meteorites, whatever they are. Yeah, that's another great place. The biggest chalk hill in England. There. Chalk is crushed shell, isn't it?
Yeah, it was once on the seabed, and when in this area, when the Alps were formed, it kind of got pushed out. So yeah, originally it was from the sea.
Yeah, that's about 45 minutes away from Silbury and the complex, by the way, Brien, this way towards London.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just an amazing place. But yeah, the biggest chalk hill in England, like there.
Is that near Highclere Castle?
It's if you go Hungerford and then you go Newbury, and then back is Kintbury. Behind Kintbury is Inkpen, and then there's the hill.
Okay, yeah. Roughly, I know what that is. Yeah.
Oh, and also the women's British glider team are up there as well, on the other side of the hill. They practice up there from there. So it's just, there's so much about this hill. And they say paraglide off it now. They run off it now and parachute with parachutes and paraglide off it. It's quite a sort of, yeah, active place still. With all that history, and part of the Ridgeway Walk, which goes up to Oxford. But that's not the only place, is it? There's so many places that, you know, now you're with different eyes, aren't you, about everything that you see. When you know that things aren't the way they were, you're looking differently, aren't you?
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's always good to question, because when I take people out, as I'm sure Brien would agree with, I always say one person doesn't have all the answers, because you could look at lots of different aspects about an ancient site, you know, groundwater, you know, the astronomy, etc., different layers. So the more people that look into ancient sites, the more of a holistic understanding we're going to have.
Yeah, I think Brien was saying that as well, didn't he? He liked hearing, he was really interested to hear what you said about Stonehenge, and now he sees it with different eyes. I think that's what happens, isn't it?
Oh, much more so. And yeah, I mean, the megalithic aspect is one thing of any of these places. The pondering as to how the stones were moved is another aspect of it. The reasoning behind why the stone was chosen is another aspect. Why were these things positioned exactly where they are, you know, is another aspect. But when you take it all and put it all together, it is forming a holistic whole. And these places are far more profound in terms of why they were made and what they were originally used for than what I would say 99.9% of academics appreciate.
Do you still feel that they were actually dug out, or do you think that a lot of these things were actually made on site? They actually, because they were that far advanced, they could pour it, you know, and it was actually then turns into a stone?
No, I don't think so, because the problem with that idea is you'd have to have machines that were able to grind the stone up into the consistency of flour, or like what a bag of concrete looks like when you open it up. It's, a lot of it will just blow away in the wind. So I don't buy that idea at all. And in most cases, we know where the quarries are, and geological studies have been done to compare the exact composition of the stone at the location, like at least in Peru, and then in comparison with where the quarry is. And even the site of Pumapunku in the Altiplano of Bolivia, geological studies were done almost 100 years ago, and they were able to exactly identify the location of the quarry.
Also, how much history do you reckon is still buried under our feet? Like layers down.
Depends what you want to talk about. Even Zahi Hawass, who was the head of the Supreme Council of Antiquities of Egypt, stated that at least 85% of ancient Egypt is still underground. And that, from what we understand now, that doesn't mean that it's under the sand. It means that it was made underground. So series of tunnels and all sorts of things of that nature. So that's adding a further complexity to the whole thing. That you're looking at least in Egypt and Peru, you're looking at very advanced high technology. There's no way that it was done with any kind of, in some cases, any kind of tool that we recognize. For me, the most curious thing about Stonehenge is how did they move the stones? Like Avebury, as far as I can tell, there were at least one stone, if not more, that weigh 100 tons, and that's and moved 3 miles, which is not like a huge challenge compared to moving stone from Aswan, but it's still 100 tons being moved 3 miles off around or on a less than a flat landscape. And so yeah, these questions keep coming up. I think we're starting to solve some of the major questions, but then the subtle ones keep popping up, like flowers or weeds that will continue to challenge us until we motion off the mortal coil and go somewhere else, I guess.
Do you feel the same like Brien then, Maria, with what's underneath our feet?
Well, yes. I mean, I think with the monuments that we see, I mean, when we look to the UK, for example, we've got 900 surviving stone circles, okay, that survived. Well, what was? How many have gone? We know a lot have gone. Are there different underground chambers around places like Stonehenge? Is fascinating to think and should be explored. And I think we only touch the surface of what we know. So that's the great thing for me. It's always what's going to come up next, and with techniques like LiDAR that can kind of scan landscapes and reveal that which was past civilizations, ancient settlements, we will get a much bigger picture of the places where we live and the places where we think we know, because this is the thing. So many people think they know these ancient sites, and we're only just beginning to fully understand their cosmology, their kind of earth energies, and the art of placement even. Why were they put there in the first place? Is fascinating.
Yeah, I bet you Brien.
Yeah, unfortunately, a taxi is waiting for me, so I do have to go. But hopefully, we can do this again in a few months.
That would be brilliant. I would look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. See you in see you in June, Maria, because I'm going to contact the desert as well.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. That'd be lovely. Really nice. Really nice.
Yay.
Okay, super.
Thank you so much.
Cheers to all of you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks to all of you.
See you soon. Hey, have you got to go as well, Maria?
Yeah, I'm literally, a little bit behind. So yes, I will follow off for Brian. But like Brian said, it'd be lovely to catch up with him, and I'll be catching up with you on, is it Monday we're meeting up, Karen?
Yes, Monday, you're doing my chart.
I'm doing your chart. That will be great fun and a good insight. And let's have a look at some of the lives that you lived before this one in your spiritual heritage.
Well, thank you, Maria. And thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, Karen. Have a good
Yeah.
evening.
See you
Cheerio.
next. Bye, darling.
Bye. Bye.
Hey, Costa, you did go to
Yeah.
one of her speeches, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to one of your talks in Glastonbury.
Yeah, I was going to say it, but I thought if it was wrong, I'll just. It was right, but you can mention that next week that you were. Cause she's coming back on Monday, so hopefully you'll come on. And can I just say to the chat room, I don't think they'll mind me saying both those people are not flat earthers, but it's really great that they come to our channel, isn't it? They've got a key, they've got history, they've both into these elongated skulls, which is another civilization, and they're still prepared to come on our channel. So I see it as very positive. And as I said, Maria's back next week to do this chart on me and my regression and stuff. So, yeah, Costa, did you enjoy that?
Yeah, of course, it was interesting to see them together talking about the history and what's going on. And it seems that what Maria said, that some of the things we just know so little what's going on. So that's good for them. I don't like people that come and say, yeah, it was like that, and they are definite about what they're saying. Wow, it's a lot of things, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they do hold keys, and they're the sort of more modern archaeologists, aren't they? And Maria does dowsing. She's very much into energies and that, and so hopefully we can all move forward, and yeah, at least they're researching and looking and realizing there's just a whole lot more to everything.
Yeah, that's what you said. In the UK, there are, how many? 800 stone circles.
And not just that, like France, there's loads over that. And also, if you go to Minorca, so there's Ibiza, Mallorca, and Ibiza, they're little islands off Spain. For those that don't know, I can't remember what they're called now. I can't say.
Balearic.
That's it. I couldn't say it. One of those is covered in the same thing. Looks like little mini Stonehenges everywhere, and the island is covered in them.
Yeah, you see, it's like there are other places as well, but why don't they have them in, I don't know, in Egypt or in that Mesopotamia or that side of the world?
But not just that, you've been to a star fort, haven't you, when you went on holiday? And there's star forts. What's all that?
Star fort, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
So I just see, is Flat Earth Dude or Patricia there? Flat Earth Dude?
Yeah, I'm here, right next to the trash truck.
Did you enjoy that?
Really loud.
Oh. Did you enjoy that, Flat Earth Dude? Oh, I don't know if he's there. Patricia, are you there?
Star forts.
Oh yeah, star forts. We had that bit.
Look at some yesterday. Interesting stuff. They seem to be everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. David Banner, I was talking with him last week. He just and he was talking with one of the security.
Flat Earth Dude, you're breaking up. Flat Earth Dude. Oh dear, he's broken up.
Yeah.
Anyway, me and Costa are hoping to do the. Oh, there he is.
One of the people, and he was noticing a lot of wrecks. He found a bunch of stuff. I don't trust car
Flat Earth dude, we can't hear you properly.
Myself, but
Flat Earth dude, we can't hear you properly.
they do, and they think 1,000 years old or something. I don't know. That's
No.
Flat Earth dude, we
that's
didn't
fine.
hear you.
That
We can't hear you properly. Oh no, he can't. Costa, he can't hear us.
Yes, he's
that's
Oh,
hard.
he's muted now. Oh no, what's going on?
he's still going muted.
Flat Earth dude, we can't hear you. Kenny,
Yep, I'm
yeah,
moving now.
you're breaking up, darling. Oh, he's muted now. I was saying to Costa about going to Coombe Hill
Yes.
next year, and then you.
Okay. I'll mute.
Sorry, Flat Earth dude, we can't hear you properly. I'm just saying we go to Coombe
I'm
because
back.
I know.
You there?
Hello,
Can you hear me now?
it's a bit better.
Sweet.
It's just you're breaking up a bit, so we can't hear every word that you say. Anyway, Costa, I was saying go to Coombe Hill next year, and that's quite close to me. But then you can pick the next one because there's more, isn't there? We were talking about the Wookiee Hole. That's amazing. The caves, like they go down with ropes, and you don't let go of the rope. You let go of the rope, you'll probably die because you'll never be able to get back up. There's so many caverns under there with water and stuff. Wookiee Hole, and then there's obviously Glastonbury the tour, which is where you are, and then there's where'd you get the stones from? The crystals, Gorge. What's it called?
Cheddar Gorge is nice.
That's it, Cheddar Gorge.
Cheddar Gorge is beautiful.
They are gorgeous, and you do drive through it. Just for this, I don't know how long is it? Quarter of a mile, half an hour, is these gorges and these shops in front of them and stuff. Yeah, amazing.
Beautiful.
And it's full of crystals everywhere. And I've been there before. Cheeses as well. They make a lot of cheeses there.
Yeah. And the good cheese comes from those caves. I think in Wookiee Hole they do some mature cheese there. That's why the cheddar cheese. That's why it has this distinct flavor because they're mature in the caves.
Yes. GoPro Flat Earth Darbs in the chat room. Maybe he can join us for some of them. Hopefully he can. But yeah, and obviously I'll film it, but they'll be our little outings. Yeah.
Maria was thinking dowsing. What is dowsing? I didn't understand.
Those are those rods where they pick up the energies inside.
They take up energies from the ground.
Well, when I first heard of her, she was on someone else's video, and she was at Avebury with the big stones, and she was dousing them. And as she was going up, it was a bit like switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off. The dowser moved, then it didn't move, then it moved, and so you could see that the stones have different layers in them of energy. So they were obviously picked for those layers of energy. That's why those stones are those stones. So her stick would move, not move. She was actually talking with some Australians who were filming it.
I see. Okay.
And her dad was a dowser. And as you can hear, she writes books, does talks, into sort of
past lives with spirits and that. But can they speak to the spirits and ask them about these monuments and why they were there, or they can't talk in this way?
I don't know, but the interesting thing is both of them have seen that these elongated burial things are full of women. As if women were the more important in those days. Yeah, that's what it looks like. The culture was much more female-like.
Yeah.
Maybe they, I don't know, because the statistics to men to women, the ratio, I think there's more men than women now, isn't there? But maybe in those days there wasn't. Maybe there's only a few of you and millions of us for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I used to like the idea of what I thought Silbury Hill was, and even that came out of something like years later. I went into a shop in Avebury. In that shop we went to where there was crystals.
Yeah.
Remember, it used to
Yeah.
be someone else, and he had this sort of painting up on the wall. I sort of went, "What's that?" And he explained that Avebury was drawn like the reproductive organs of a woman. So you've got the entrance and you've got the ovaries, and that basically they did their fertility dance from the entrance up, and then all the women were waiting in each ovary, and then of course a bit like, oh, she'll do, grab 9 months later a baby. It was more, that's what they were making, babies. But of course that's not true anymore, is it? And even that one I thought was amazing.
Yeah,
that's not true, is it?
Yeah, that was a good concept. Like a vagina, even.
Well, now we realise it's part of Stonehenge and part of this sort of motherboard with all these ley lines, which actually the ones at Avebury match up with the Giza pyramids in Egypt. So it's all part of something else. I know, it's incredible. And she actually said that those ancient civilizations, wherever they are, however long they are, because we know that history's a lie, they were making the ley lines. Maybe we're on top of a great big Nazca line and we don't realise it because we've got trees and grass and everything, whereas that's a desert. You see it. Because the white horses are amazing, aren't they? I never thought about it, right? Really, those things are best to see from the sky, but they've been there for as long as many, many years. Not our generation. Or they're saying that they're thousands and thousands of years old.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
And it's really strange because, not that we'll maybe know the truth, because there seems that in Wiltshire, which is the next county on from me, there's loads there in Wiltshire, but there is some in Berkshire, the oldest one in the UK. I can't remember what it's called now, sugar. That is in my county. That's supposed to be the oldest one. So it's amazing. And these things would be much better to be seen from the sky, like the Nazca lines. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been researching lately?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of work on Greek words, etymology, Greek history, ancient philosophers. Amazing stuff. I couldn't believe it. And history.
Wise now, aren't you?
Because the Greeks are saying about three cataclysms, 3 floods predating this flood they're saying in the Bible, and that. So the history goes back way beyond, and they say that the earliest they can tell is like 230,000 years ago. And this goes on together with, there's a guy called Michael Tellinger. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
One of his latest videos, I saw him contacting the desert. I think he was in Arizona, is it? And he's saying that his discoveries that he found in South Africa, where they're supposed to make the first, it's called Adam's calendar. That's where he's saying the Anunnaki made the first human. And he says this date again, like 230,000 years ago. That's when humanity was created, or at least humanity as we know it now. And connecting with the Greek history I'm listening to, I find it really fascinating. So trying to connect the dots and find out what's going on, because it's what they say about Stonehenge and April. How many thousand years is it? 5,000 or 8,000?
Well, they put everything on the signs as 4,500, but they're saying 12, whatever it is. But I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. This must be much older.
But again, they've lied so much about everything. Maybe it's 1,000 years, not 12,000. Who knows anymore?
Yeah, more. This goes back, a long time.
It could be thousands, like 250,000
Yeah,
years.
200. Yeah. Because it's also Michael telling us about the erosion on the stones in Stonehenge. That they must have taken 100,000 years to get that crack on some stones. So, and they moved them in the 50s. They set them up. So they're trying to hide things, and I don't know even if they know how old they are. You know what I mean? It's like they just made this history now, the history books, and that's it.
What do you think? Do you think, because obviously we've got Angel who comes on, and he feels more that like the Egyptian pyramids were made on site, whereas Brien Foerster believes that they're great big stones that or ever been taken there. What's your take on it?
Was that Joey Roca was saying about the stones? Joey Roca from Hawaii, he was saying that they were doing them there, yeah? They had some kind of mold, and they were doing the stones there. I don't know. It could be that they were doing them on site with like molds and going up, but the thing is, there are other stones that show cutting edge technology, like straight cutting through granite. So they couldn't do that in a mold. So they must have had different techniques. They knew they had advanced techniques, but certainly they knew something about levitation with sound energy. They could levitate the stones.
I watched a video on Sun and Moon. I think artists found it where this wall was waved. The whole wall was waving all the way round. It wasn't a kind of circle, but the whole wall had a wave in it. Wave, and that would be really difficult to build. Even though I think it might have been bricks or stones, small stones, but building that so that it didn't fall down, like, it's amazing. And like Maria Wheatley's saying, we're only seeing, it's almost as if these things have had these floods and we're just seeing the end results of few floods and problems and decay, and that's what we're seeing at the end. But this wasn't what they were like originally. They were magnificent originally. We're just seeing the ruins.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, of course. We're just seeing the ruins, yeah, definitely.
But it is crazy, isn't it, when it almost like it's military on Stonehenge, which they haven't put back together properly. And then you've got Avery, which, thank goodness we can go up to the stones.
Yeah.
The long barrows there, the pyramids there, the stone circles, there's Silbury Hill with another arking in it. There's Woodhenge, which she was talking about. They're all there within a couple of, I don't know, half a mile of each other. They're all really, a couple of miles. They're all really close. So they don't touch any of that. And that might be even more important than Stonehenge. Anyway, Costa, we have been on for a little bit. We weren't going to have a really long one today. In fact, Brien Foerster and Marie Wheatley said half an hour, so we had them for 45 minutes, so that's good.
Yeah, that was good, yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice. I'd have liked another 45 minutes, though. Just want to announce to people that tomorrow night is changing with Kenny and Josh. Josh can't make tomorrow, but it's being rescheduled for next Wednesday. But Martin Kenny's going to come on tomorrow, so I'll do a little video and change the other one so everybody can see what's happened. But so we are on tomorrow, but we're coming on with just Martin Kenny for a chat, and then he's coming on next week with Josh. So hopefully we won't be too disappointed there. Flat Earth Dude, are you there? Patricia? Costa, it's just you and me then.
Yeah, I'm here.
Who's there?
There you go.
How we doing?
We're
Right,
okay. We're
okay.
having a shorter hangout tonight, Earth dude.
Anyway, I was trying to say earlier about I was talking with David Banner the other day about Stonehenge. He just went there last week, and he was
Right.
looking at some of the stones, and he was talking to one of the guys there that cost him 19 quid to get in there. Anyway, he went in there and was looking at some of the stones, and he goes, there's a steel bar in there and it's rusting through, and he's talking to one of the guys there, and the guy's like, no. And I go, dude, that's a steel bar. So they put some kind of a steel bar in there. It's rusting. And then he was looking at a bunch of fiberglass. So I don't know what to make of the Stonehenge. Never been there. I can't really tell you much, but yeah, it's really controlled. They don't want you getting too close to those stones so you can see how fake they are, is my theory. I think they're kind of faked out, man. I don't know. I saw a lot of pictures and video of those guys building it, or back in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere in there. So
Yeah, in the 50s, yeah.
in the
There
50s,
is all
right?
the footage which
Yeah.
says that they were there, but what it is they've not been, like, they have been put back up, and whoever did it didn't do it right.
Yeah, they just kind of threw it together and they made it into like a Disneyland attraction at this point, charging $20 to get in. They don't let you get real close to the stones. Can't really touch them and knock on them. But the guy was pointing out fiberglass. David's pointing out fiberglass to the guy, and the guy is still denying it. He's like, no, that's not fiberglass. And if you've ever worked with fiberglass, you know what it looks like. And David Banner, he's a builder. He knows what a fiberglass looks like. And even if they point it out to him right in their face, they'll deny it. You know, oh, no, that's not fiberglass. That's cement. I'm like,
They
I
are
don't
telling the
think so.
truth about taking it away from everyone. You used to be able to drive quite close to it, so it was just there almost to the side of you, and now it's sort of right over there. Because
Right.
they've moved the road. I don't understand why they want to put something underneath it. What? Isn't that, do you know what? Maybe that's why they have to do a road underneath, because really they're going to see what's underneath it, but they're just going to pretend that, well, they've got to put a road there, but the road isn't for us. It's because they want to get in there underneath.
Maybe. Right.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. Again, I haven't been there. I can't say a whole lot about it. They've been there. They looked at it. They supposedly have some kind of carbon date. You know, I don't exactly trust carbon dating.
They don't draw me quite the same. They're in the middle of nowhere, right, on a really busy road. A really busy road's going, and they're there, and that's it. There's just that thing. Whereas when you go to Avebury, you can go to the Long Barrows, Silver Hill, there's Strawberry Hill, there's the Woodhenge. There's loads in one place.
Right. And you can touch all those and get real close and taste them. But no, so yeah, there's definitely some mystery behind the Stonehenge, and they like to keep it that way. And the farther away they keep you from it, the less they have. It's going to get revealed. They might potentially be fakes. I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, imagine the British heritage not admitting that Silver Hill's a pyramid. So there you go. Shows you, doesn't it?
Exactly, right? So yeah, we're absolutely getting lied to about everything, where we've come from, why we're here. You know, if first of all, if they're going to lie to you about the shape of what we're living on and how we're supposedly moving around this universe or whatever, then everything's off the table for me, man. You know, I'm like, immediately I'm suspicious. Wait a minute. Was there a mud flood? I don't know. It kind of looks like there might have been. People went underground and something flooded out here, and then they're building a bunch of new bunkers now. They got like giant cities underground, man. What's going to happen? I don't know. But they don't build underground stuff for nothing. and they might have done it before, and they just make up shit when they come back out, man. They just kind of make up all this shit. Maybe while they're down there, they make up all the shit. I don't know, but we've definitely been lied to about what we're living on. So there is that. Anyway, enough of my rant.
Yeah, don't forget, we're sort of the kids that grew up with this super space and, you know, whatever it was, Flash Gordon, Space 99. There's all that. So they've made us think that we're really advanced, but we weren't. We're not. We were advanced. We're not as advanced now. It's crazy, isn't it? And they're making it look like we're so futuristic and we know so much. And there was this thing about landing on Mars the other day, wasn't there? It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's like, please stop.
Yo, Flat Earth dude, I heard about those underground bunkers they're building. I heard that they are prisons for people that will not accept to get microchipped. Is that true? Do you know about this? You heard?
Flat Earth dude?
I haven't heard that one. No, that's interesting.
Yeah. So everybody that doesn't accept this new thing they're gonna bring up, they're gonna go under there.
I think they're gonna go hide under there. Why this place, I don't know, burns or floods. I don't know.
Yeah, or the opposite. Yeah, or they keep it from them so they can hide.
Right.
Yeah, from this. Yeah, it's one or the other. Yeah. Because whatever they are planning is the total control. Yeah, one government,
Right.
the perfect world to live, everybody to listen,
Thank you.
robots.
Well, what if they go underground and then they take all this wonderful technology with them,
Yeah.
and then they just slowly introduce it to people, you know, and they make a fortune again, you know. I always wondered where all this technology keeps coming from, you know. It's like, see, I think they've had this technology for a long time already.
Yeah, yeah.
And they just slowly introduce it. I saw the internet, you know, 5 years before anybody else did. I was one of those lucky people, man. I had a friend that worked for a company called Aerospace, and he invited me over for lunch and took me up to where he works and showed me the internet, man. I was like freaking out. I'm like, that's going to change the world. And that was, you know, 5-6 years, but apparently they've had that for like 20 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
So we're going to figure it out, man. But maybe by the time we figure it out, they'll just pull the plug, man. All they got to do is shut down the power grid, man, and we're done, right? We're done. It won't take long, man. Maybe a couple of months, half a year, I don't know. No power, man. People are going to get real desperate, you know, real fast. So,
Yeah, what about this event that Martin Kenny is saying about 2020 that's going to happen?
maybe. I've heard of, what is it, Agenda 21, maybe 2021. I don't know. They love 21. That's 777s. I don't know.
Yes,
It's really
but
hard.
a natural event, not they causing it. Something coming from the center of the earth and causing a big damage. Have you heard from Martin Kenny? He's saying about this.
It was a few weeks ago we were talking, but I was listening mostly, actually, and Yeah, why
We can
not,
ask you
man?
tomorrow, maybe,
Good.
Costa, if you
Maybe.
come on or come in the chat room.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow he'll say
Yeah,
some
yeah.
more tomorrow. Yeah.
We'll question him up a little bit tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll question
Could
tomorrow.
be, you know, hard to prove. What can you prove? And you know, I like to prove things with my eyeballs, and you know, if I wasn't there when they built it, I don't know. Could have been yesterday. Could have been 100,000 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, exactly.
They could tell me whatever. I'd be like, oh, okay. Good luck trying to prove it. Again, I don't trust carbon dating all that much. It makes
Yeah.
sense, and it makes sense in theory, kind of like gravity. But it, you know, practicality, I've never done it. I understand everything's made from carbon, so
Yeah, and petroleum as well.
right.
Petroleum
So
is a carbon-based oil.
how you going to carbon date a rock? It was 20,000 years ago. It was a rock.
Yeah.
It might have, you know. It's like that's tough to prove, man. Yikes.
Well, it's a bit like we've only been 8 miles down, thingy, Bobby. You know, only 8 miles yet with this molten core spinning around the universe.
Right. You have a hot molten core that's magnetic, which is impossible if it's hot at the kind of temperatures they're talking about. Magnets don't work. And so there's lie number 2 right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't know. I mean,
We are finding that everything is alive, so there's probably something. There's got to be something in the truth of what you're saying. It can't be right because everything's alive.
yeah, you know, and was Stonehenge some kind of sacrifice place? I don't know. Was it a ritual place? Was it what else do they say? It was an astrological
Yeah. Lunar.
A lunar site. It also lines up with the stars, you know. But I don't know. I've never been there. Never checked it. I'm not probably never. I might go there. I'd like to go there, but I would just rather just go to England. See you, Karen.
Oh, I'd like to meet you too.
But hang out, have some coffee,
have a beer.
A beer and a fag would be good. So what was that, Karen?
And Costa. You have to meet Costa as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah, I heard you're violin.
Yes.
Fixing violins.
Yes, that's what. Yeah.
Are you a maker or just for fixing?
I make guitars.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Interesting.
I've made pianos, guitars.
Wow, man. Oh, it's very skillful. Well done.
Yeah, it's just patience, cutting wood, shaping it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, we'll have to get you to come on and play a few songs one night, Flat Earth Dude.
Okay. Yeah.
We always like a bit of guitar.
Yeah, we should have a music night, Karen. Everybody come on and play songs.
Yeah.
that would be fun. We take turns.
We can arrange that. We do different kinds of hangouts. We can arrange that one for Flat Earth Dude.
Maybe next spring or something when it warms up a little.
Yeah.
Let's do some etymology about music, about singing.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm really into that.
Nimble Horse says epic, dude.
Epic.
That's fun. Epic.
Yeah, even GoPro Keith like that idea. Jam night. We have to get Alex.
Night, yeah.
Alex, music guru.
Could get him on. Could get Gathica, myself. Dread. What is he? Musicians for Truth. Yeah, poncho. Your poncho on.
Cool.
What happened at the conference in Denver? Was it last month or a few weeks ago?
Yeah, a
Well,
couple weeks ago.
a couple of weeks ago now.
Did you go or
No.
you're in California?
Yeah, I'm in California. I was in Hawaii actually, so I missed it.
Oh, okay.
Just that, if people don't know, Flat Earth Food does a lot for our community anyway. He's number one cameraman. He's going to Hollywood
Yeah.
He goes to the parties and he goes out and he tries to meet as many flat earthers or the bigger channels, because sometimes other people are there, like whoever, my Patricia Steer, whoever, he likes to get their ear. He's an amazing person and a nice man.
Yeah.
Well, I love getting live interviews. I don't know, I just have a passion for it.
Yeah, physicists. You talk to physicists now.
Physicist or whatever. I'll
No,
talk
it
to
is,
whoever. Yeah, I did 6-7 hours with a physicist. I've been to Hollywood, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, just interviewing people. I put a panel in their ears. Panel of experts, usually flat earth experts, mostly.
Hey, sorry, can I just change the subject just for 2 seconds there?
Yeah.
Brien Foerster just messaged me. It was nice to hear him saying he wants to come back. Cool.
Right on.
They're happening for you, Flat Earth Dude.
They're kind of coming for me.
It was nice to hear that Brien Foerster says he'd like to come back. And I said to him, thank you very much for that. And he says, my pleasure, Karen. So that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I mean, I was driving around mostly listening, and I'd like to see like a formal presentation of his. That would be so cool. Because, with the visuals, it really helps. Say, well, I was here, I've done this, I've done that, whatever. That makes a difference. That makes a big difference.
He goes on his channel, though.
Right. But he can come on. We can ask some questions.
Maps about where he's going and stuff like that, and he'll even explain to you. Well, you'll go on a plane, then you'll go on a lift? They want a lift down to the port, then they caught a hydrofoil thing across this island. He'll explain it all to you.
Right. Took a rowboat.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. Yeah, man. The guy's doing the work, man. I'll give him that. I'd like him to take a little closer look at where we're living, and notice a few things that's physically impossible, like bendy water. But he'll come around. They'll all come around, Karen.
But at least as archaeologists, they're not the same as the rest. I mean, people look at them and go, oh, don't be silly, or you can't be serious. They get that.
I'm sure they do all the time.
Yeah, because they're the sort of the more modern ones, the ones that are at least open to realizing that, not saying, oh, yes, they're 4,500 years old like the rest of them do.
Do you think he's a dinosaur believer? Or yeah, no, I don't know. I don't have followed enough of his work.
I don't know.
All right. I'll ask him next time, maybe. That'd be nice.
It is a bit weird. I was thinking about those when he was on that show. I was just thinking, well, just a minute ago or something. I was thinking, yeah, they've told us they're dinosaurs, but they're just giant bones.
Right. I got a guy who's really done a lot of research on the giant thing, and I don't know, man. I think it's kind of odd. He's put together about 1,200 pictures from around the world of these giant rocks that look exactly like humans, and that's a lot. So maybe, I don't know.
So you think there were a lot of like thousands of giants living on Earth?
Maybe there's only 100. I don't know. But he's got a lot of pictures from all around the world that look like
definitely.
giants.
And they were really, really tall. They were like nearly a mile
Right.
high.
Mile, 2 miles.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh my goodness.
I don't
You
know.
know-
I'm not sure if I can believe they were that big, but I do think that there were people who may be about 8, 9, 10 feet tall.
Well, I've seen some like 8-footers, but
You can see it because some of these structures, you know, like even in Mexico, they're so small, they're for the pygmies, but there are others where the doorways are really tall.
well,
But
I don't
that
know.
doesn't mean anything, does it? I mean, if you look at English history and they show you a 17th century house, they'll put the ceilings really high. You know, and they can be domes and things. So I don't know, maybe it's to do with that, but I don't know. But yeah, we're definitely in the questioning stage, aren't we, about everything still?
But that's why we bring on experts. We talk to them. We learn.
Yeah, we need to move on together somehow, don't we?
Get enthused. Go look at some more information, and eventually, all of us together pull the pieces together and make it. And try to start to make sense out of it all. And Flat Earth's a great example of that, man. Everybody has been just kicking science down the road, man, and it's been great to watch. Everybody's doing a great job, and I experience it out there talking to people, you know, and there's more and more every time I go out. There's more people walking by, going, "Yeah, man, it's flat. It's flat. It's totally flat." Like, there's definitely been a change. It's more aware, and it's good.
So they're lying about the figures on Flat Earth then?
Oh yeah, it's huge. You know why? Yesterday they had the moon thing, right? The Mars landing, whatever. So I got on with Poncho, and there was like 50 of us in the chat, right? And Poncho and I go, let's go ahead and we're gonna chat bomb NASA, man. So we came up with all these things, you know, flat Earth, this and that, and everything. And as soon as it was like a minute before the landing, Poncho said, "Let's hit it. Here we go." And we all hit the chat with all kinds of 200 character flat Earth, everything, right? You know, we had like all kinds of characters and everything. And none of it, almost none of it showed up in their chat. They had us blocked from day one, man. Blocked. Anything with flat Earth in it, it was done, man. It was blocked. So.
Oh, this is serious.
Yeah, like hardly any of it got
Then
through.
constellation, Sun and Moon is blocked as well.
So we're all blocked on the JPL side there. So anyway, that was kind of yeah. They if it wasn't the case, they wouldn't care. They would just, if they weren't lying, they wouldn't care. Like, yeah, go ahead, say it's flat all you want. Go ahead. But they care enough to block us. That tells me a lot.
Maybe comes the day when actually the word globe is blocked. Anybody's got globe or anything in their thing, or that they'll get blocked. But we don't mean it horribly. It's a joke. But yeah, it's great if they've got to do that to us, isn't it? That's covering up the truth anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, we've been on for an hour and a half now. We said we want a really long one today, but I just want to reiterate that Martin Kenny is coming on tomorrow, but the hangout with him and Josh is going to be put on for next Wednesday. I will alter the little video about it and put a little video about him coming on tomorrow. It was a really nice, I really like Brien Foerster and Marie Wheatley, so that's great. Maria's back on Monday doing my chart. Oh my goodness gracious me. Thank you to Brien Foerster and Marie very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Costa. Thank you, Flat Earth Dude.
Welcome.
And Patricia.
Thank you, Costas. Thank you, Karen, Patricia.
Yay. Hello, Joe. Just in that room. We're just finishing. Big hugs for everybody, and we're back tomorrow with a slight change with Martin Kenny. Anyway,
all right. Good night.
See you tomorrow.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, good night.
All right.